what I'm going to talk about and the question I'm going to answer is, how do you give yourself permission and like allow yourself to actually dive headfirst into your goals? Because there will always be somebody who doubts you, always. And if they finally stop doubting you, someone new will come along. And there'll always be something that happens where you begin to doubt yourself, right? So how do we trick ourselves into still believing even when there's so much doubt around, okay? And basically, so some of you know this, Ryan and I got engaged in end of July. So we're officially engaged. And we haven't really been planning the wedding. We're not like really excited to plan a wedding or anything like that. So we haven't been sitting down in quarantine, like going over plans or anything. But what we have been doing is we've really been planning the marriage side of things. I think if people planned more about their marriage than they did their wedding, the divorce rate might not be so high. So we're really focusing on marriage. And actually today, that's why I switched my topic idea. We got a book in the mail, and it's called 101 Questions to Ask Before You Get Engaged. Obviously, we didn't do this before I was engaged, but you get the point. So this book came in the mail and we started it, and it was really, really cool. We're only on like question 40 right now. And it was really, really cool. And there was one question in this book that I read, and I'm like, ooh, made me think. And I was like, ooh, I gotta spin it and ask the Fit Queens all about it. And the question is, it says, dreams and aspirations are very important. Have your partner write their response to, if I were to marry, I would blank. So that's the question. If I were to marry, I would blank. And then you complete that phrase 10 times. So you write it out and add 10 different endings to it. And it just really, really made me thinking. And I was like, this is cool. I got to twist it so it works for you ladies. So that's what I did. So before I go into you answering that question, I first want to unpack why this is such a cool question, okay? So weight gain, or your weight in general, is a symptom of your lifestyle, right? That's pretty obvious. You guys know this. Habits plus behaviors equal your physical appearance, pretty much. So if you're unhappy with your body, that means habits, lifestyle needs to change in order for this to change. So your weight is a symptom of a poor, unoptimal, unhealthy lifestyle, okay? But there's also symptoms to your symptom, right? So if your problem is insomnia and a symptom is being tired, a symptom of that symptom would be loss of focus. You follow me? So there's a symptom of your symptom. I'm going to get into some tongue twisters. So there's a symptom of your symptom, right? So the problem is your lifestyle. It's showing up in the form of weight gain or unhealthiness. And now I want you to think, what is a symptom of that symptom? So for you, what is a symptom of you having extra weight on your body? What is it? Write it in the comments. What is the symptom in your life from you having extra weight? And I don't want just little surface levels like I can't fit into clothes. I want a little bit deeper than that. So let me see. So tired, lethargic, low energy. Yep, definitely. Fatigue. Yep. So what's a symptom? So what's this weight doing to you? What's it causing? It's like a domino effect. It's like a ripple effect. Low self-esteem, knee pain. Yes. So the body's starting to fall apart. Laziness. Yes, that's a good one. So these are all symptoms, right? It's a symptom of your symptom. You following me? So now, what is the consequence of having that symptom long term? If you never fix your self-confidence, if you never fix your fatigue, if you never fix your sore knees, what is the consequence of that symptom? What happens? So think about it and then write it in the comments. And this is where it gets really scary, because this is real life. If you can't fix that core problem, it ripples down into this situation coming to light. So an example for me would be my symptom of my weight gain caused me to be less intimate with Ryan. I was lazy, I was tired, and I didn't want to be naked. I never looked at my body like ever. I was always in clothes, or I didn't even look down in the shower. So it caused less intimacy between Ryan and I. And so what's the consequence of being less intimate in this relationship? Well, honestly, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, it's probably going to lead to a divorce, right? Right? It makes sense. If there's less intimacy, there's going to be resentment, there's going to be a loss of connection, and it's going to lead to a divorce. That's huge. So indirectly, me being fat is going to lead to a divorce. Isn't that crazy? It seems like a far stretch, but when you break it down like that, it is not. It's not a far stretch. So that's what I want you guys to do. This is kind of like more in depth and more dark than you've ever gone into as far as what this weight does to you. But it's very, very important because this situation, this circumstance that could happen if you don't fix now, that symptom of the symptom, it's destructive. It is destructive and it will ruin your life, and you need to picture that and see what it would be vividly, so that is your reason why. That becomes, everybody says, remember why you started, remember your reason. That's your reason. So I don't get a divorce. So I don't end up miserable and not loving myself my whole life. What's your consequence of having that symptom long term? Are you losing relationships? Are your children going to get fat and unhealthy? Are you going to lose a job? Are you going to lose money? There's so deep consequences, more than just, oh, my clothes are getting too small, right? So that's what this question in this book made me think of. It made me go down that path of the symptoms of the symptoms consequence, because we never ever think that far down. Do you know what I mean? We think maybe the first level, maybe the second level, but we never go that third level and picture that horrible future. That's very real. Very, very real. That only gets fixed if you go right to the core, which is lifestyle. And in turn of having that lifestyle shift, that mind makeover shift, you then change your body. Your body changes the symptom, and that consequence is no longer there. And so after realizing your consequence, ladies, so that big consequence, that it's almost like different reality paths. You have a fork in the road. You can go down that way. It's still a possibility, or you can go down this way. So that consequence is if you went down that wrong path, okay? I want you to answer the question. If I were to lose weight, I would blank. So if I were to lose weight, I would blank. And your blank is the opposite of the consequence you just discovered. Okay? So write in the comments, what is your blank? If I were to lose weight, I would blank. So what's possible? What amazing life have you now shaped? It's like what you've rewritten history. You have a chance to rewrite the history you're going to do. So what is available to you now? What opportunities do you have? What relationships have you saved? So if I were to lose weight, I would blank. So now when you ask yourself that question, it's more deep, right? If at the beginning of this call I asked you that question, what would you say? If I were to lose weight, I would be happy, be healthy, feel good about myself, right? Does that carry much weight? Does that stir emotion in you to make you move and take action? No, not really, right? But now that I've asked you it, if you were to lose weight, that blank that you fill in, that's saving you from that consequence that's lying down the road. So that was a really cool question that I got from this book, and I thought I needed to spin it for you ladies, okay? Another really cool question in this book, it really made me look at myself in a way I haven't in a while, like good and bad areas. So the other question was, what are 5 reasons somebody would want to spend their life with you? And what are 3 reasons somebody would not want to spend their life with you? Pretty big questions. You got to have a lot of honesty with yourself. So let's unpack that question together. So first and foremost, okay, what are 5 reasons someone would want to spend their life with you? 5 reasons, write them in the comments. 5 reasons someone would want to spend their life with you. What are these deep habits or deep character traits that you possess, you specifically, that would make somebody attracted to you for a lifetime? Big question. One of them for me was I'm pretty open to criticism and feedback. I'm pretty open to it. I don't get snippy. I don't want to fight. Maybe I'm not as responsive in the moment, but I will always go back, think about it, and I value what's right over who's right, and that's something that I believe is one of my 5. So what is one of your 5? Caring, social butterfly, friendly, loyal. Awesome. So those are your 5 things that make you special and that would make somebody attracted to you, and those are your 5 strengths in life, pretty much, right? And now let's flip it. This is where it's going to get very real and raw, and you have to be vulnerable to get the benefit of this. So what are the 3 reasons somebody would not want to spend their life with you? What are the 3 things that you know that always kind of creep back into your head that you're like, man, I wish these weren't here. Man, this is really going to hurt me long term. Man, someone has already pointed this out about me. What are the 3 things? 3 reasons that wouldn't just make somebody not want to hang out with you. It would make a partner not want to spend their life with you. Trust issues, definitely. Definitely, that's the right track. Yeah, so those are the 3 reasons, okay? And this was really huge when Ryan and I were going through this, because it was like, number 1, it makes you analyze yourself, right? And number 2, it helps you realize other people's standards and other people's expectations or deal breakers, right? Because if those are 3 things you believe about yourself that you don't like, you probably are not going to be attracted to somebody who has the same 3 traits, right? So that's really cool to realize that. Actually, also, I noticed this too. Would you guys consider yourself judgy? Like, in your mind, do you always pass judgment? Like, sometimes you try to stop, you catch yourself, but you're like, oh, why is she wearing that? Oh, that looks silly. Oh, I wouldn't do that. Like, we say little things that society's kind of drilled into our head, right? And it's funny because usually we are the harshest and we judge the people or the character traits who amplify the negative things we don't like about ourselves. And that's some real talk. So if you don't like somebody who talks really loud and they annoy you when you're in the same room, well, it's probably somehow related to you being uncomfortable speaking up. You see how that works? And so it's important to realize those things so you can know your deal breakers. You can know what you have to work on. And you can also notice in situations like that why you are judgy, why are you reacting the way that you do. So it's not so irrational or it's not so automatic anymore. So that was the 2 questions that really stood out to me in this book. I'm only 40 questions deep, so I'll give you the recap once we get all the way through. But I thought those were really, really cool and really applicable to every area of life, not just a love life. And basically what's cool about that question, the 5 reasons someone wants to spend their life with you and 3 reasons why someone wouldn't, is because those 5 reasons you just gave, ladies, they are the 5 strengths you have that are going to get you to that blank. That if I were to lose weight, I would blank. That blank, you're going to achieve that when you strengthen and double down on those 5 things you just wrote in those comments. That's what's going to get you there. Okay? And then those 3 things that you didn't like, those 3 things that are holding you back, those are going to be the 3 things that if you don't address, that if you let win, they're going to bring you to that consequence we talked about. They're going to be the ones that lead you right down the path to that consequence. Okay, so it's super important that you revisit that consequence, right? People always say, what's your why? Why are you doing this? Or you'll say, I don't feel passionate, or where'd my motivation go? Or I just don't know why I can't be consistent. It's because you haven't gone deep enough with what happens if you don't change. The pain of staying the same should be greater than the pain of change. The pain of staying the same should be much greater than the pain and the unknown of changing. That's the only way you move from point A to point B, right? You never do anything if you were comfortable and happy with where you were. So you have to remember that you are unhappy, you are uncomfortable, and where you are now is unacceptable. Where you are now is unacceptable. If you do not address where you are right now, that consequence is in your near future. So you need to constantly remind yourself that, because we do a really good job of tricking ourselves into thinking we are happy, thinking we are content, thinking it's not as bad as it is. We do a really, really good job at that. And that's how we protect ourselves, right? Because our bodies and our minds don't want to put us in situations where we don't know what's going to happen, or situations where there's risk and we might fail, right? We avoid that at all costs. That's what our body is literally programmed to do, to make us stay alive. So you almost have to fight against nature there in your mind, like your primitive brain. But we will not move. You will not change. You will not be able to make an important decision in the moment when it's the hardest, unless you remember the pain of staying the same. Because Fit Queens, you would not be here if you were 100% happy. You would also not be here if you weren't trying to reach it. You're trying to reach that ultimate happiness. This isn't just a weight loss journey. It comes with so much more, because you are literally rewriting your story. You're rewriting your story. Think about before Fit Queen. Think about before Fit Queen. What was your story? How is your story going to end? How is your story going to end? It's not a happily ever after. That's terrifying. That terrifies me. I think the biggest fear in my life is death. I'm totally afraid. I have no idea what happens. I don't know. I'm terrified of death. But the thought of, growing and becoming happier and happier every day slowly gets me closer to being ready and being okay to deal with that when it comes. But if I didn't have that driving force of being terrified of being on my deathbed with regret, being on my deathbed and not being ready and being afraid and hysterical, if I didn't have that fear, I wouldn't be moving. I wouldn't have opened a gym. I wouldn't have created Fit Queen. I wouldn't have lost my weight. The fear of being mediocre is horrible, because you guys are all amazing women and have so much more potential, so much more to live up to than just settling. So whatever your answer to that question is, if I were to lose weight, I would blank. You have to double down on it with your 5 strengths. And you have to watch out for those 3 things that are always going to creep up. And they're going to want to pull you back down to that consequence path. It's very real. But it's okay to think about things like that. See, the difference here is, you're not terrified that that thing is looming over you. You're motivated to keep doing what you're doing to avoid it. And you are strong enough to realize that it won't pull you back, especially when you have a tribe and you have coaches. That just puts you like hundreds of light years ahead. And so I found it really, really helpful. Those questions, I thought it was really, really cool for Ryan and I to talk about them. So if you want to kind of experience what I experienced, I would say ask your significant other, or ask one of your best friends or one of your children those questions, like 5 things you like, 3 things you don't. And if I were to lose weight, or if I were to get healthy, or fill in the blank with what you want that person to do, where does it go for them? Where does it go for them? And constantly ask yourself that question. Again, because you have to make sure that you are driven to move. Driven to move. You only move to avoid pain. Very few people make decisions based on pleasure, based on achieving pleasure. Most people make a decision based on avoiding pain. Did you guys know that? Yeah. It's a pretty cool decision. And once you kind of wrap your head around that, don't fight it. Don't fight that fact. Embrace that fact. So if you know that you're only going to make decisions out of fear or to avoid pain, well, then make sure you know pretty damn well what staying the same, how much pain that's going to cause. A lot. So always revisit that thought. If you are in the middle of an intense decision or a temptation, or you're unsure of what path to go, if you're even on the edge and saying, I want to give up, what's my point? I'm so disappointed. If you're on the edge, remember the pain. Remember the pain. And the pain that's going to come if you actually give up on yourself. Because the pain of failing is nothing compared to the pain of realizing you gave up on yourself. That's intense. And maybe some of you have given up on yourselves in the past. Maybe you have experienced that emotion of just like completely indifferent with what you do, where you go. Maybe you've experienced that before. And it's not pleasant, but it's real, and that's pain that you can draw from. So remember the pain. Remember the moments when you cried in the change room. Remember the moments when you couldn't do your pants up. Remember the moments when you sat on the beach in your cover up while everybody else played in the water. Remember those moments. Remember the moments when your grandmother made a comment about your muffin top. Remember those moments. Let them fuel you. Don't be bitter. Don't be revengeful. Just embrace them and let them fuel you. And that's kind of the message I want to get across from you. Find that pain, let it fuel you, and shape a new future based on the motivation of avoiding that pain. That's one of the most powerful motivators ever. Don't fight it. Don't try to reprogram yourself. That's primitive. That is what it is. So use it to your advantage. And that's what I want to share with you guys. And I thought that was really, really important. So after everything we talked about, ladies, I want you to take a second and put in the comments what you're taking away from this. Okay, what are you taking away from this? You know, are you realizing that this weight loss journey is more important than you thought? Are you realizing that you are still in danger of reaching that consequence? Are you realizing you are now in a place where it is pure fuel for you and you're not afraid of it anymore? What are you taking away from it? What are you taking away? The bigger pain is not failing, but not trying. Yes, so the bigger pain, it's not if you fail, it's if you don't try. That's a big one. That's a big one. The quote Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try. That's Master Yoda. So do or do not. There is no try. You're either going to do it and fail and keep doing it, or just don't do it. But don't do it and expect not to fail. That's another thing. It's going to happen. And, you know, we can prepare ourselves as much as you'd like. We can prepare ourselves, like, you know, when you say your wedding vows, till death do us part, and in sickness and in health and all of that, right? We're saying it because we mean it at the moment. But nothing can prepare you for those actual moments. So that's why it's so important. The pain of staying the same is so much worse than the pain you get in the weight loss journey. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nothing beats the trial but a failure. Yep. My takeaway is that I have to try harder, even though I think I'm doing my best. I know I can give more. Yes, that is it. I know that I have a long way to go, and it gets daunting at times, but I am determined to take one step at a time. I need to keep pushing through my failures. Yeah, that's what it is, guys. Pain is inevitable. You can either fall victim to it or you can push through. And I think you guys all know someone in your life who is like the biggest victim ever. You all have one person who it's everybody's fault. It's because this happened. Why did you do this to me? I can't believe this happened to me. Oh my goodness, my parents did this when I was younger. And they just hold on to every story. They hold on to every grudge. The grudge holders, they're the really unhappy ones. The people who blame everything else for their failures, right? Rule number 1, restore responsibility and you have your power back. You have your power back. Pursue pain. Pursue pain. I didn't even just say failure. It's pursue pain. That's one of the golden 5 weight loss rules. Pain, embrace it. Because pain, failure is one thing, but there's pain in other ways too. Definitely pain and failure, but there's other things in life that are going to happen that are painful. But are you going to let anything throw you off your course? Anything. Anything. If you went broke and lost your house tomorrow, is that an excuse to stop being healthy? I can't answer that for you. But that's how serious this is. That's how deep you need to believe in this. Nothing can stop you. It's crazy. And so that is the message I want you guys to take away from today. Embrace your pain. Remember that consequence and just push it forward with you. It's really, really, really crazy. Really crazy. Put your hands up if you know what I'm saying. Put your hands up if you understand that pain is a driver. And put your hand up if you think you haven't been tapping into the pain enough. Put your hands up if you think you haven't, or recently you've been struggling to put the pain in. Yeah. Because you try to trick yourself. It's not that big of a problem. So what you're doing is fine. And it is for now. It is for now. But eventually you're going to hit a big, big destructive obstacle that being happy and motivated for is not enough. It's not enough. You got to have a deep, deep why. Otherwise, it's just too easy to give up. It's too easy to put your sweatpants on and grab the tub of Ben and Jerry's and watch The Bachelor and cry. It's too easy. So prepare yourself for those big freaking obstacles. Get ready for them. When they come, I mean, there's nothing you can really do to prepare, but when they come, realize, oh, this is what I was waiting for. This is the real test. This is where I got to dig deep and find the pain to pull me out, instead of it being sunshine and rainbows all the time.